Hello everyone, and welcome to this video where I'm going to be looking at how we can fix existing ships made before the space update, before the compressed gases update, what we could do to them to make them function properly and have our creations back to normal. Now unfortunately, I've been feeling a little drained with this new update, and not because I'm upset at the developers. I think they did a fantastic job of implementing yet another engineering aspect of the game where we can go ahead and build all sorts of cool new things. I love that. I'm very happy with that. But unfortunately, I'm just a little sad or upset or deflated or whatever because the support for ships created before the update has now kind of gone a little haywire. And something as simple as this, letting different pressures into areas, and especially this one because it's a much bigger room, I just find that unfortunate because now I just have to have another aspect to think about, and it's not a big deal. I have a very simple solution proposed for this. I'm just kind of concerned that it hasn't been released yet, and maybe that's being a bit too aggressive, and I hope I don't want to come off that way, but I've just taken into consideration a lot of comments that a lot of people on my Discord server had been saying, and pretty much what they were saying was they don't want to go back to building. They're deflated, they're sad, like all their creations are broken, you have to spend hours and hours fixing it all, and it's like, for what? And okay, yeah, it's just as simple as a ventilation system right now. Everything else seems to be working, which is great. They fixed the engines, they fixed the water jets for the most part. The pumping system, while a little confusing or strange, it still does work. So like, I'm happy that the ship actually drives. So that's awesome. But what is a bit unfortunate is that it doesn't quite perform the way I'd like it to. And I'm referring to specifically having these the air pressure be different in the different chambers. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate is poke a hole here, and we're going to put a barometer in the inside and a barometer on the outside. So we're going to know the pressure inside the room and the pressure outside the room. I'm also going to go ahead and put a gas meter because I want to measure my gas inside the room. And I'm going to go ahead and put a simple port with the valve that I can control myself. Okay, just like this. And another port. So we're going to see if we can equalize the pressure inside this chamber. Looking at this right now, we see that our atmosphere in the area around us, it's around 1 atmosphere, and inside is actually lower. So it's lower pressure inside this room than outside this room. Why that is exactly doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, the space within the room has no fluid, it has no water, so it should just be fully gas. And if I go to the gas meter here, I could see that my gas level is less than my capacity of this room. So there's a difference in that, and that difference could be making up for the fact that there is a lower pressure because we have the gas, rather than being compressed, it's actually expanded to fill that area. But if I go ahead and open this valve, let's watch what happens. So it starts to fill up the gas. And if we wait a second, it's going to fill up to capacity, meaning it's going to be fully entered into the room. But what's weird for me is that our pressure on the barometer, now it's equal, right? Now if I shut this off, this is more or less, the gas level is more or less equal to fluid capacity. But yet our pressure is still less, much less. Now if I open this up, it obviously equalizes right away. But that's not the point. The point is that this system does not work. And in my opinion, this system would have been the easiest system for the developers to make work, and pretty much just boom, it would make this room equal to the ambient atmosphere, and you're good to go. So if you do want a moon pool, for example, you would then have a valve that you could shut, and it would no longer, you could pump the gas into the room, whatever, but you wouldn't have to think about, like, if I go over there and check, it's going to be lower pressure. Like, that's not how it should be, in my opinion. And even if I open this back up, you'll see here, like, the gas level is way higher than the capacity in this room. So actually I would have had to leave this valve open for a while before it equalizes itself. Maybe it's a long-term thing. Maybe if you, instead of what I have here, you put a gas valve, so that means in the event of your ship flipping over, it won't start allowing water to enter this room. And if we go ahead and spawn this, we'll see that it does not happen instantaneously, and it's still super slow. So there's something going through this port. But if we look here, our pressure is just slowly going up. Now, fair enough, like, we could put pumps and have a pump in and a pump out and pump circulating to kind of get the pressure back up to normal. Something like this, where we have a pump pumping in, a pump pumping out, and we have our fluid or gas relief valve. We've actually created a high pressure in here now, so that didn't even work. So it could be the position of the gas relief valve. Now I've put the gas relief valve before the pump intake. So in this case now, it should work better because each of them should have the same amount going through them. And yeah, it's going up a little bit faster. It's still not fully proper yet. Like, it's taking its sweet time. But you can see that both fluid ports are working. And yet we're not there yet. So I think that all this can be avoided, to be honest, because I don't want to go put this on all my ships. I think, and especially every room of my ships. That's a bit much. Now, I don't want to sound like a negative Nelly, but I've talked to a lot of people on my Discord server, and a lot of people have the exact same comment and sort of thinking, is that while we did add a lot of features to the game, we also lost things on our previous creations. And it's unfortunate because there could be a very easy fix to this, and I really do hope the developers can implement it in the coming weeks, because it's as simple as this. So say right now this area in my ship is considered sealed off. So if we go into here, if we stand in here with our avatar or character, it's going to drain the oxygen and increase the CO2 levels in this room, and eventually you could suffocate. So what we can do as one option that I propose is, you know how we have the fluid spawner, okay, where we could set how much fluid is in a room. You'd have the same thing for gas spawner. So you'd be able to come here and set it to atmospheric pressure. So instead of fill level, you'd actually set the pressure, and you'd set it to oxygen, or air. You'd set it to air, and you'd have it at atmospheric pressure. That would decrease that, eliminate that weird like particles coming in through the door, because we'd have equal pressures in these two chambers. But this doesn't solve that problem of suffocating because your character is breathing carbon dioxide. So for that, what I propose is something that looks like this, but it's not this. So it would be its own new inventory item, and it would pretty much be called like a ventilation duct, or even just air pressure equalizer or something like that. And you'd put one here, and then you'd go on the outside of your ship, and you'd put one here. And now, for all intents and purposes, the pressure in this room matches the pressure outside. And not only that, the pressure or the composition of the air outside, so the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, all that stuff, matches that inside this room. So now, in this case, you're no longer worried about suffocating, and you're no longer worried about building up pressure. So it's as easy as that. And my personal preference would be that this sort of new component, while it would look kind of like this, it would actually be only 1 cube long, and it would just have sort of on either side, it would have the intake. So what I just painted now is kind of my intake area, and all you'd have to do then, let's get another color like this. So if it's touching this screen side, and if it's touching this screen side, it instantly matches the pressure, and it matches the air composition to the outside world. And then it really would not be a problem to implement in all our ships, because all you do, voila, you're done. You've now placed it. It's measuring the contents inside this room, matching them to the contents outside the ship, and you're done. And in theory, with interior rooms such as this that now have a different pressure system, all you'd have to do, same type of thing. You'd go ahead, you'd put your block here, and it would measure the pressure inside here, and it would match inside this room. And because this room here is connected to this room here, which is actually connected to this vent here, so all three of them are kind of connected by these green blocks, it would automatically be connected to the outside world. So now, even though it's an inside stateroom, it would have ventilation to the outside world, and you no longer have to worry about pressure buildup. You no longer have to worry about your character suffocating. So that's all you do. Now, if the game wanted to take this to the next level, and instead of a simple block like this, which is quite easy to implement, want us to rather implement HVAC systems. HVAC is like like pushing air through ventilation systems, pretty much. So if the game wanted us to do HVAC systems, we could do that too. That could be kind of cool, actually, and I'm going to show you how it would look. So in the case of this area here, we'd have this, and we'd now put our HVAC system. It would be also a new component. I'm just going to demonstrate it with these vents, but pretty much it would look kind of like the coal hoppers. So picture the coal hopper that has kind of this block on either side, like where you could connect it up, connect it down, sideways, all that stuff, except instead of being this size and huge, it would literally just be a 1x1 block that has these on all sides. And you'd then go ahead and put your block here, and then inside your ship you'd run like a ducting pretty much, and then you'd be able to place another one here, and now that's an HVAC system. And obviously they could add pumps, they can add air conditioners or heaters, like central heating, central air conditioning to our HVAC if that's what they want, but I would even leave it like this. So now these two rooms are tied together, and this is no longer a cube like or block, but rather this is now an actual HVAC duct. And the interesting thing is then we can make ducting systems such as this, and even if now we have another room as an example like this would also feed all of these rooms. So you'd now have your ducting. And yeah, I mean, the ducting we kind of already have. Like, that's why I think it would pretty much just be this, like that. And instead of the fluid port, it would be like that mineral hopper that I showed that has kind of, or it doesn't even have to have it on all sides. It can have it only one side, but it has like a continuous thing, or maybe on 4 sides. But whatever. Point is, you could then branch out and have an HVAC system like this, and you could run it to all the different rooms, and really all you'd need is one exterior location that is the intake, and now you'd be able to bring it throughout your whole ship. Now this would be a little more complex. You would have to have and plan out your ships, because as you can see here, I'm having pipes running up these walls. I don't have other space, but I mean, obviously you also don't need one exterior port. You could have a port for every room if you want, or you could have one port feeding every room. But doing this would do the same thing. It would equalize the pressure to the outside atmosphere, and it would remove the ability or the buildup of carbon dioxide outside or while inside these different rooms. So quite simply, it would solve this problem. And where it doesn't apply, like a submarine, because a submarine, you know, you actually do build up maybe some pressure, changes of pressure, and that's fine. That's okay. Like, you go under, you come back up, and you open the door. Yeah, you'll have particles flying out, but it doesn't quite make sense that a ship like this would have this area pressured different than outside. So that's where this type of fix would come in, and it would solve this problem. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is each of these systems, whether this system where you just a simple block, or whether we actually have HVAC ducting, whatever the case may be, they don't allow liquid through them. So even in the event of this ship overturning in the water, these systems would not actually flood with water. So they pretty much have a built-in gas filter that does not allow liquids through them. So these are the two systems I propose to solve our problems, because I'm feeling a little just unmotivated to continue building stuff like this. That's why I've been building cars and things, because now with the introduction of this, building ships, building mini subs, building all this type of stuff has seemed to taken a back seat for me, unfortunately. And I would really love to get back to it. I want to release this ship, but I don't want to release it now knowing that things are broken. So I really hope the developers can take a look at my suggestions, can maybe implement them or create something even better. But regardless of what they do, this would solve some of the problems with the ships that the ships currently have. They did already solve the water jets. They solved a lot of problems that they're having, but this is kind of one outstanding one that I think is needed to just make the game function back properly how it is. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully you learned something. Let me know in the comments what you think. And as always, happy Stormworksing, everyone.